Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. Today I am going to be looking at the Gundam Assemble starter deck starter set for the Gundam card game. So it is the starter set of the actual TCG that they've done. These are all the Japanese sets. And it's also got a little taster of the Gundam Assemble tabletop game that will be coming out next year, I believe. We don't have any rules or understand how any of that works yet, but this is just an excuse to release the miniatures now so people can get a feel of how Bandai basically tries to get into the miniature games market. Now, they have done Gundam miniatures before, but they are sort of like trading figures and a little bit different, and it was a good enough excuse to go along with the card game to sort of release two products at once and see if either one goes well or the other does well, or if both do well, ideally both will do well, and go from there. Now, I am recording this straight off of the camera. This isn't pre-recorded audio or anything like that on top. I just felt like that would work a little bit better. I'm not really sure why. So we'll be looking at all of the starter sets that they've released so far. There are 4 in total. I've already looked at the starter deck for Heroic Beginnings in English, and that was the only starter deck that I could get my hands on. And I just wanted to have a look at it, and in case I wanted to play the game, I was happy to have an English pack. That being said, pretty much all of the English packs, starter sets and everything like that are sold out or super limited supply in Australia. Some places like EB Games only have pickup or delivery in certain locations, so while the starter sets are available, you can't really get them, which kind of sucks. But it is what it is. I was able to get the Japanese starter sets, which is fine because I only really wanted the minis anyway, and to flick through the cards just to see the art. In case I wanted to play, I've got an English starter deck, and hopefully we'll be able to get some boosters, but who knows. But we're going to be looking at the starter sets today. So we've got the Heroic Beginning starter set, which has got the RX-78, the gun cannon, and the gun tank. We've also got the Wings of Advance one, which has got the Tallgeese as well as the Leos. I think it's ground type and flight type. I'm not super far into Wing Gundam, so I'm not too sure exactly if that's the different types of the Leos. Then we've got the Zeon's Rush set, which has got Shah Zaku as well as 2 regular Zakus. And then finally, we've got the Seed Strike set, which has got the Strike Gundam with 2 of the different striker packs, so the Sword Striker and Blast Striker, I believe. I can't remember the names correctly, as well as the Striker pack. And this one is interesting because you can actually change this to make, I think it's the Cannon one, into the Ale Strike Gundam. So that is cool. And it is nice that they've already introduced sort of like upgrade packs and swapping things around, even though for the card game uses, this is effectively just tokens. So we'll be going through them one at a time. We'll start with Heroic Beginnings. Alright, so starting things off with the Heroic Beginnings set, the boxes will look all the same regardless. So there's just rough information about this, so it's like these are the minis, that's what they could look like painted. This could be you one day, who knows. There's a little hint at some of the paints that they intend you to use. Even in the instructions they have the exact like color numbers, so I think it's Mr. Hobby brand. And then just a rough little showcase of them being used as tokens. You know, they come on sprues. There is a pack in this, which is a random card replacing one of the starter deck cards as like an alt art or foil. I say alt art just because you can get the main cards as a promo and they're like more zoomed in or whatever. I have heard that you can get like a God Pack style thing where some of the other cards are different rarities in general, but I'm not 100% on that. It's just, you know, luck of the draw, I guess. So we'll see if we get one of those. Just open up the box. And here's everything that it comes with. So we've got instructions on how to assemble the 3 minis. We've even got the color guide on the side, and just sort of like recommends different Gundam nippers and how to attach it all. There's a little advertisement for Gunpla in general. I'm not too sure about what the other stuff is. I should probably look at the other instruction manual from my English set. Then we've got a quick how-to guide as well as a playmat, but then the actual meat and potatoes. So we've got the Heroic Beginnings starter deck, we've got the random replacement booster sort of thing, the promo booster, and then we've got the sprues with the minis. So let's crack it all open. Now, I have already looked at these cards on a YouTube short. Whether or not you've seen it, that's entirely up to you, but we'll go through it anyway. So these are the Japanese release. They look exactly the same as the English one, just the text is different. So we've got the RX-78, we've got the Aerial Gundam, should be 2 copies of each, yep. And the foils do look really, really nice. It is very high quality. Just would like the camera to focus a bit better. But they do look rather nice. Then the different character cards, ability cards, all sorts of things. I believe this plays similarly to the One Piece card game. So we've got Gun Cannon and Gun Tank, we've got Gyms, we've got Aerial with the bits attached. Don't know, Demi Trainer, and we've got all sorts of different, it's sort of specifically the original Gundam and Witch from Mercury. They haven't done G-Quacks yet, but I believe they've announced a starter deck for G-Quacks, so that's cool. So there's a nice mix of pilots, ships, and mechs. Then there's resource cards, as well as, I think it's like an energy or something like that. Then there's the tokens, and then you get like physical counters. So all fairly standard, but they do all look rather nice. Then from the random promo, they can replace one of the cards, so that's replaced the Aerial, so you can see how the promos stack up. And even then, like, the base one looked good anyway, but the promo just looks so much better. The finish on it is very nice. The replacement of the background looks good, and the art in general was really high quality, so it is cool that we've got those. Pretty happy that it's one of the main Gundams done up, so it looks way different. Now for the miniatures. So we've got the base plates, which are all the same. We've got what looks like the RX-78. Looks pretty simple, very few parts. It's much less complicated than one of the Gundam Artifact models, if you've ever built one of those, and they're even numbered like the classic regular Bandai plastic, and we'll see how the quality of those go once I do assemble these. Then we've got the Gun Tank. Again, very few parts, but all very solid. The detail work looks pretty good on these, like very nice clean lines, so it should be pretty easy to paint. And then we've got the Gun Cannon, which is a little bit of a different build because of this little like dirt mound that he's sort of crawling on, and I think that that's probably the only one we've seen so far that does something a little bit different with the base. Everything else is fairly standard. Alright, so that is the Heroic Beginnings set, and we'll move on to the next ones in order because like they're all numbered like ST1, 2, 3, and 4. Alright, so the next set we'll be looking at is the Wings of Advance set. This is meant to be Gundam Wing themed. Really weird decision for the miniatures. This is the set that I see fully available in Australia still, because it might be wing themed, but we've only got the sort of antagonist slash villain models. We don't have any of the main Gundams, let alone wing. And so we've got the Tallgeese and Leo ground type and flight type, and that's just strange, because you'd assume we'd get like wing or Death Scythe or something, but no, we've just got Tallgeese and 2 of the Leos, which would have been interesting as well if they did like the Leo in the Xeon set, because the Xeon set comes with 2 Zakus. But it's just strange that we've done this. I believe this will probably be the least popular set, even though Wing has some of the coolest designs, at least in my opinion. But for the models, at least for the Leos, they're pretty boring. The Tallgeese is pretty cool. But yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. So we'll open this one up. And it is the same loadout. So we've got the rules to the game, as well as the playmat. We've got assembly instructions, and these are, of course, different with a different paint guide. So that's pretty cool. It is interesting how simple the paint guide is on some of these. Like, we're just like the black, the gold, the green, the red, and the white. Yeah, you only really need 5 colors, but if you want to shade, highlight, and everything like that, it is a little bit more complicated than that. But you can see some of the actual assembly is very, very simple. So it's like that ground type Leo is only like 4 parts if you count the base, pretty much. So it is an interesting lineup, and it'll be cool to see once they're all set up. So we'll take out the booster here. So we've got the wing deck. So let's just take off that plastic sleeve and have a good look at these cards. So we've got the Wing Gundam, looks very, very nice. I do really like the look of Wing. We've got the Talgeese, and the foil cards have been sticking together, so that's a little bit awkward, but it is what it is. We've got the transformed form of the Wing, so as a flight mode. We've got Heavy Arms. We've got Sandrock. I think Aganak. I'm not super familiar. I've only ever seen a few episodes of Wing. I still need to watch the rest of it. And I'm not super familiar with a lot of grunt types. So we've got the Leo, Aries, Taragosu. I'm not too sure. I'm trying to read Japanese at the same time. Then we've got Hiroyuki. We've got the antagonist 6. I think it's 6. We've got the pilot of Sandrock and Heavy Arms, which I think it's the other way. I think he's Heavy Arms and the other one's Sandrock. I can't remember. Like I said, I've only ever seen a few episodes of Wing, and I'm more interested in the Gundams than the pilots, as well as the Gundams over the grunts or any antagonists. This is the scene from the first episode where Hiro says he's going to kill the main girl, which is a really stupid and iconic scene when you take it out of context. Even in context, we didn't really know what was going on at that time, so it's kind of interesting. Then we've got the token cards, so we've got the Leo, we've got the Talgeese, and it doesn't look like we have tokens for the flight type, which is fine because the Leos are just Leos. And now for the promo card, let's see what we've got. And it's a promo of Hero, and you can see what the difference is between the main cards and the promos. Not a huge difference with like some of the pilot cards, but you can see it's just a tiny bit cleaner. Like this text box is gone, so you see more of the art, and it is just a foil card. So that's pretty nice. And we'll look at the sprues now. So we've got the base plates again. We've got the Talgeese, and it comes in a C1 and C2 runner, which is a little bit interesting. It does have the separation that some of the other Bandai kits have, so you do count them as separate runners. And that looks pretty nice. Decent amount of pieces, and again, the detail work is pretty good from what I'm seeing. If my camera could focus, that'd be nice. But yeah, looks really good. The line works good, so it should be pretty easy to paint. Then we've got the ground type Leo, like I said, only 4 parts if you count the base, otherwise it's 3. And relatively good detail. I did notice on as Mecha Gaikotsu's video the strangeness of the Leo's arm going super far back, and just makes that look really strange from any angle that is from above. And then the flight type Leo, also very similar and simple build, but looks really good as well. It's a little bit more dynamic, so I think it'll be interesting. And that's the wing set. Next, I think it's the Zeon set, so that'll be an interesting one too. Okay, next up is the Zeon's Rush set. So this one is themed around Zeon, I believe specifically just original Gundam and some Unicorn, which is interesting because we don't have a Sinanju in this set for the miniatures. Again, slightly strange choice of minis, but makes a little bit more sense because you could always use more Zakus, and having multiple Zakus with different poses, one with the bazooka and one with the Heat Hawk, is fine. And we've got Shah's Zaku, which is a must for a set like this. It would have been awkward if we didn't get that at all, and if, say, like the Heroic set didn't have that, if it was like purely just classic Gundam. But yeah, they had to include a Shah's Zaku. Even if the pose is relatively simple, I believe it's enough just the presence of Shah's Zaku, even if it is a fairly simple design, works really, really well. From an outside person looking in, these probably don't look super interesting and they all look really, really similar to each other, but I think it is special enough, especially as a Gundam fan. Weirdly enough, I've never really built a Zaku that wasn't an SD kit, so this could very well be my first Zaku, and it's a miniature. I do have more than one Zaku to build in HD scale, I just haven't gotten around to it, but this one will be built in this video, so it'll be, you know, my first actual Zaku proportionally that I've built. So in the Zeon's Rush set, same thing that we've seen before, so the game mat, advertisements, as well as the build and paint guide. Much more simple this time around, so that's sort of like salmon pink that is used for Shah's Zaku. We've got like a black on the knees, grey for the gun, and red for the skirt and chest. Very simple. Realistically, that's what a Zaku, at least Shah's Zaku, is, and the regular Zakus aren't too much more elaborate either. Now I'll take out the booster, and let's pull out the deck. First up, we've got the Sinanju, and it's interesting that that's the first face we see. I just want the card to focus. It's interesting that that's the first thing we see, despite us not getting a mini in it or anything like that. The art is really nice, and the foil style looks incredible. Then we've got Shah's Zaku, which looks really good. The art on this one makes it look more red than it is that sort of like salmon pink, but it's all up to interpretation. And there's, I believe that's like a grunt Sinanju or something like that. I haven't watched Unicorn, I just know bits and pieces. Then we've got Girasu. I think that's a different type of Zaku style. So these are a bunch of grunts or sort of more special kits. So it's like the Zaku 1, Zaku 2. The Zaku 2 is the more iconic look. We've got the Goof, some of the more specialized kits and things like that. I think you could do a pretty good Goof custom for the minis as is if you had some Warhammer bits floating around. Then we've got a lot of the Zeon pilots. Shah just being Shah. He looks pretty happy, honestly. I think that's from Unicorn as well. Then Sinanju looking really good. That's the pilot of the Goof, I forgot his name. Remble Rao? I can't remember. Then we've got some of the ships. Resource cards. Then the tokens. Ooh, that's an interesting look for the Shah's Zaku. Like, it looks cool, but it's also very like retro in how elongated some of the features are. That's cool. And it's classic Zaku 2. And then our counters. Then we will look at the special booster, and we've got one of the ships. Again, for comparison to the regular card, you can see they sort of remove the text box, so the art is much more prominent. So that is really cool, especially if you get like an actual Gundam card. It would make those promos look way better. I'm sure the actual rarities in the actual boosters will be a little bit different as well. Just put that away, and we will look at the sprues. I keep alternating between saying sprue and runner, that's just how I am. And so we've got the base plates, and I think we're starting out with Char's Zaku. So yeah, this looks like Char's, mainly because of the little commander fin on the head of the Zaku, but it does also seem like it's not a dynamic pose, so I would assume that is Char's one. And simple build, but all of the detail looks pretty good and pretty easy to cover. The B2, this looks like it's the crouching one with the bazooka. Looks nice as well. Again, the detail work is very simple. I don't think you need any glue for these, but it would be recommended if something doesn't feel super solid. And then this is the Zaku with the Heat Hawk, and again, looks really solid and nice. I did like Mecha Gaikotsu's video on these, that they work pretty well as a Space Marine style kit in terms of like how closely related they are to Warhammer, because Space Marines have very solid pieces, very smooth surfaces, and Zaku's are very similar in that, where it's like not very many colors, very bold and smooth surfaces and clear lines, so they'd be good for beginners to paint. So I think that that works pretty well, especially with this set having 3 Zakus, makes it very beginner friendly. Okay, and now for the final set that I'll be looking at today is the Seed Strike set, so based on Gundam Seed. And we've got Justice Gundam up there, as well as the Ale Strike Gundam. And we've got the different striker packs, as well as just in general the... I forgot the name of the actual flight unit, but you can change this and mix it with one of the other ones to make the proper Ale Strike Gundam. I have actually ordered another set of purely just the miniatures, because someone on Yahoo Auctions Japan was just selling their minis and not the deck, which is exactly what I wanted, because I wanted to build all types of the Strike Gundam, and I'm somewhat interested in trying to make a perfect Strike Gundam, but we'll see how feasible that is. But alternatively, I think it'd be cool to do a Strike Rouge, so I thought it'd be good to get as many of these as I can. Worst case scenario, I just have it with the main striker packs, all painted up, and it'll look nice. Okay, so once again, what we're familiar with, so we've got the game mat, the advertisements, and the paint guides. And these look a little bit more involved, mainly because the seed designs are a little bit more detailed in general, so there might be a bit more cleanup involved with these completely. And they do have a little look at the Ale Striker. Looks nice, and the instructions on how to assemble the alternate pieces, so that's really cool. I do intend to paint these as the intended colors. I don't want to go too crazy with these, but we'll see when they do the actual Gundam Assemble miniature game if I change my mind and paint up a bunch of different ones, because you know they'll release multiple RX-78s in different poses for sure, so we'll see what we do there. Could change the Gundam colors quite a bit, and I might just do different versions of the RX that we've had over the years. So we've got the Ale Striker there, we've got the Justice Gundam, looking good. All of the art on these is nice. Then we've got Strike. Not sure about these ones. I haven't actually watched a lot of Gundam at all. I've watched the original series, I've watched like 10 episodes of 00, and I've watched like 4 or 5 episodes of Wing. I do intend to finish Wing 00, I'm not sure about. I'm really bad with the Japanese names and I'm just pulling a blank. But this one, I've thought about buying the HG of, just because I really like the look and the silhouette. We've got a lot of the rough baddies. We've got Kira. Is that Atherin? Yeah, it's Atherin. Atherin Zala. The Striker pack. Some of the other pilots. We've got the main ship. They have shown a miniature of this. Actually, they've shown a lot of the miniatures that are coming for Assemble, but we don't know what prices are, how the packs are set up, or anything like that. But I know they've actually shown, it's like the something white base, or is white base is the first series, isn't it? Man, my Gundam knowledge is pretty crap because it's so sporadic. I really need to watch more. Then we've got the tokens, so we've got the Ale Strike, got the Blast one, and the Sword one, as well as the counters. And then the promo pack. Who have we got? We've got the one that I forgot the name of. Fantastic. I am going to look like such an idiot once this video is out. I just don't know enough. But for a lot of the really simple cards that don't have much in terms of effects or anything in terms of effects, these look the best with the promos because the art is completely uninterrupted. So that looks really good as a promo. I'm glad about that one. So that looks nice. I will say the promos have bent just a little bit, so that kind of sucks. So I'll need to straighten this out just a bit, or I'll put them in a card protector or something. But yeah, looks nice. All of the promos look nice, but more so the ones that are actual mechs. And next we'll go on to the actual sprues, which might be slightly more complicated than the others just because we've got option parts this time. So we've got the bases as usual. Next we've got the Sword Striker pack for the Strike Gundam. That looks nice. Not actually too many pieces, but the actual indented detail is pretty intricate and there's a lot going on, so a lot to paint. But everything looks quite bold and easy to see. Next we've got the Blaster pack. Looks nice. I can't remember if these are the correct names for it. Oh, sorry. Launcher Striker. It's on the runner. So the Sword Strike Gundam and the Launcher Strike Gundam. Yeah, we finally got there. But yeah, this is the one that you can change out to be the Ale Strike Gundam. So on the D3, I'm just trying to line it up correctly. Yeah, I had it the right way. So the Sky Grasper, that's the name of the backpack when it's in an actual ship form, but you've got it, you can remove the Striker pack from the Sky Grasper and make actual Ale Strike Gundam. We've got the shield as well as an alternate arm for it, and a gun arm, so you can change the aesthetic of the Launcher Strike Gundam quite a bit. It sort of necessitates getting more than one pack, or you just make sure that you don't glue anything, so you can swap out the parts, because I believe it should be easy enough to swap. I'll have to investigate that in the instructions. But just the concept of having upgrade packs or swappable parts is interesting, because if we're starting the line showing that we can do things like that, you can change a lot of things for a lot of sets coming out. Like say for the upcoming RX-78 sets that they'll inevitably do, it might be you can change from the Gundam Hammer to the Beam Javelin with the same kit instead of them releasing multiple of the same one, and it'll necessitate people buying multiple just for those options to create every single thing. It would make sense. I know how Bandai is. Seed in and of itself, there's so many different ones you could do. The Force Impulse Gundam would have so many going on. Wing, there are so many different versions. Having EW styles versus the animation styles could be crazy. Even having Gundam Aerial with the bits on or off, it could change things quite a bit. So it is interesting that they're starting off by introducing that this is even a concept. So they're sort of covering all bases if they want to do kit bashing and customization later on, which is really cool to see. Next, I will build all of these up and we'll compare them with some other miniatures, and probably in another video I'll paint them, just because this will take a very long time. Okay, and here are all 12 of the starter set assembly minis done. And I've cleaned them up a little bit, not a lot. I fully intend to clean them up properly when I do go to paint them. I will be doing the standard colors, like I said. Sort of undecided what to do with the Sky Grasper type thing with the alternate parts, but I am getting another set of the seed kits, so I can figure that out a little bit later. But here they are all set up. And I'll do a comparison with some of the other models that I have. So here's a comparison with a more standardish Space Marine. This is from an older set that my brother had lying around. It is part of a video that will be coming out at some point when it's done, as well as a comparison with a Gundam artifact and a sort of more regular-ish large-scale mini. This is from the board game Sea of Legends. This is the Skeleton Titan, I think. I'm painting all of the models from that board game. I kickstarted it a very long time ago, and I'm just slowly going through all of my board games and painting everything that I can. Everything that I've been painting has been to get good enough to paint these guys, as well as any future Gundam Assemble kits, or at least any mechs that I like. And it'll be an interesting thing. A lot of Gundams have white, and white is sort of notoriously hard to paint in terms of making it look like it has depth. And like, I don't want to just do a simple base coat on a lot of these and call it a day, even though that is perfectly viable. But I want to create a little bit of depth and unique detail, and I feel like it's important enough to do that. Granted, a lot of these models will probably get reproductions or different poses entirely as the Gundam Assemble line gets filled out. So it's probably not the only time I'll be dealing with the RX-78, for example, but I'll try different paint styles for those. So it is an interesting little thing to see. And I like all the sort of like unique things that they've done. They've tried basic stances, they've tried action stances, they've tried sort of like iconic hero poses. They've done figures where the base spills out of the actual base plate, like the gun cannon. And then you've got swappable upgrade style parts, like with the Skygrasper for the Ailstrike Gundam. They're trying a lot of things just to see if it works here, and everything here feels like a test. All of the kits assembled super easily, all of it is beautiful push fit, and it just works. I've dealt with Warhammer push fit, and this is a completely different beast. Comparable so far to Warhammer, yes, I'll really figure that out once I paint these, but it is classic Bandai plastic, so it feels pretty damn good. It is different to Games Workshop plastic. There are bits that are a little bit hollow, whereas Games Workshop feels a little bit more solid than that. But in general, I'm happy enough with it. Again, won't really come down to it until I start painting, but that's something to figure out later. Oh hi, I didn't see you there. As you can see, I'm hard at work making new videos for the channel. Now, while I'm happy with where the channel is right now, I could use your help. By liking, commenting, and subscribing to the channel, it helps out the YouTube algorithm and recommends my channel to more people. So if you like any of my videos, please let me know, it really helps out. And if you liked this one, please let me know too. It means a lot to me, and I really, really appreciate all of you guys.